Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk with the Cummings. My name is Mark Angelo.
And I'm Lynna Ariel.
We are the Cummings.
That's right.
That's right. Real Talk with the Cummings.
We're talking. Welcome to our show.
Welcome. Hope all of you are doing well. I hope you guys had a great weekend. What did we do this weekend? We went out to the mall.
We went to the mall and we had
sweet tomato.
Yeah, we had a all-you-can-eat salad bar.
Yeah.
Found that you get some really good protein from their big chunky chicken noodle soup.
Exactly.
Which you just dig in there and scoop out the chicken breast and leave the noodles.
I'm really enjoying eating meat, and I've always been kind of leery about it and not really liked it. And as of late, I'm really enjoying eating red meat.
Well, I'm really enjoying being able to eat different types of foods with you. You know, I mean, we did eat a little bit of meat, like when we first, like when we were living in the villa over in Silver City.
Yeah, we did.
And then we just quickly dropped it, you know. But I think everything has served its purpose, you know. Everything has a season, and I really don't like what's going on with veganism these days, though. I don't like the globalization and the industrialization.
Yes, and I started noticing that when it's almost like they're pushing it. When I started seeing Beyond Burgers everywhere, I'm like, why are they doing this? You have to understand, politics, corporations, and finance, they don't just do stuff just to be nice. There's always a plan behind it, and I don't want to, think all sorts of stuff, but I don't know. I find it kind of odd, that they would care about your health. Just like when the digital thing came to be, they used to be analog, all of a sudden the government got involved in making sure you had digital boxes to watch your TV. Now they're kind of like getting involved into like what you're eating. So that kind of like,
I don't know. I just feel it's kind of odd that they would base the survival of the planet on the methane emissions of cows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, the rainforest is dying because cows are farting. It's like, I really do think that this whole push for veganism and this kind of like the biotech industry getting involved with our meat production and creating bio meats and things like that, where they're like, oh, you won't have to eat cow or beef. You'll just have it organically made in a lab, and it'll taste like it. It's like almost like the Jetsons, when you were a kid and they would serve food and it was like the pill form, Or
that movie Soylent Green, where you didn't know where it was coming from. They're eating each other. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's kind of strange. I'm enjoying anyway, drink a glass of milk every night, and doing cottage cheese and fish and chicken and turkey and beef, and it's just and it just feels good. Yeah, it feels good. Yeah, ahi tuna, really good stuff, I tell you. But everyone's got to do what they did. I was a vegan from 2008 till just recently. So and I went off and on here and there, but for the most part, I was a vegan for a very, very long time. And it has its value. If you're sick, it can help you because you're like not putting so much strain into your digestive system. It allows the body to do certain things. But I don't believe, and this is my opinion, that it's something to do forever. My opinion. Everyone's got their own opinion, and that's fine. We shouldn't tell each other what to eat.
Right.
It's very personal.
There was
That's like religion.
there was a recent YouTuber that had been a vegan for a very long time, and she basically started eating meat, and she said she's never felt better
That's how I feel.
in the last 10 years than she is now.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's almost like my body's going, thank you. Where have you, why have you been? Yeah, why have you been
we
depriving
ate
me?
protein when we were vegans, but I don't think we had the full amino, what is it, aminos?
Branch chain
Branch
amino.
chain
Yes.
aminos.
They say black beans and rice or beans and rice, and there's certain foods that you combine, but it's not the same. I mean, when I eat a piece of red meat, I'm like, it's just.
That steak yesterday
That was good.
Really good.
That was really good. Anyway, enough about food talk and veganism and all that stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. We've got a pretty lined up show here for you guys today. At any time, guys, you're welcome to chat. And if anyone wants to call in and ask any specific question, I'll put up the number. But in the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and talk about 10 healthy lifestyle tips for adults. Okay? It's important, in my humble opinion, to be mindful of your health. We can't have guarantees because you're living right here, right now, at this moment, heart's ticking. Next second, something could happen. But if you try to do the best that you can to make yourself not only physically, but emotionally and mentally healthy, then it goes a long way. It's important. Health is important. It's always been very important to me. So these are 10 healthy life tips or lifestyle tips for adults. All right. So number 1.
Eat a variety of foods. For good health, we need more than 40 different nutrients, and no single food can supply them all. It's not about a single meal. It's about a balanced food choice over time that will make a difference. A high-fat lunch could be followed by a low-fat dinner. After a large meat portion at dinner, perhaps fish should be the next day's choice.
And here, this right here is very important. It's something that I've learned. When you have a diet that tells you can't eat this and you can't eat that, you're in trouble because you then are missing all the ingredients that your body needs, that your cells require to keep you healthy. So that's right there. If you have a high-fat lunch, obviously you're not going to have a high-fat dinner. You've got to know how to balance. If you shouldn't eat red meat every day. There's things that happen in buildup of uric acid and gout and all sorts of stuff. But once or twice a week, a nice cut of meat is great. And again, portion controls. No one wants to eat a 12-ounce porter steak. 6 ounces. You want to distribute that protein throughout the day. Number 2, base your diet on plenty of foods rich in carbohydrates. That's one of the things people do. Oh, no carb or high carb, or no this or no that. No, we need a little bit of everything. So about half the calories in our diet should come from foods that are rich in carbohydrates, such as cereal, rice, pasta, potatoes, and bread. Personally, I like to stick with low glycemic carbs.
But we're not talking about cereal.
No, we're
food,
right.
Sugar cereal.
Exactly.
Right?
No, we're talking about grains and things of that nature. It is a good idea to include at least one of these at every meal. Whole grain foods like whole grain breads, whole grain pastas, and whole grain cereals will increase our fiber intake. Fruits and vegetables. We normally do our main high carb meals in the morning before we go to the gym.
Right.
And then we'll have a little bit of either brown rice or potato in the meal that we come back from the gym from. And then in the evening, we don't do any carbs.
Right.
It's usually just protein, or a little bit of berries or something like that. But, you do need carbohydrates. Carbs is like your fuel. And if you're going to be laying around all day and doing nothing, no, of course you need minimal carbs. But if you're an active person and your glycogen restores are low, that means the place your muscle has a storage for those carbs. If it's overfilled, it's just going to spill over and make you fat. So choose them wisely. Choose low glycemic carbs, which means carbs that are released nice and slow. You don't want anything that's going to spike you up too quickly and create all sorts of crashes.
Number 3, replace saturated with unsaturated fat. Fats are important for good health and proper functioning of the body. However, too much of it can negatively affect our weight and cardiovascular health. Different kinds of fats have different health effects. And some of these tips could help us keep the balance right.
We should limit the consumption of total and saturated fats, often coming from foods of animal origin, and completely avoid trans fats. Reading the labels helps to identify the sources.
Eating fish 2 to 3 times a week with at least one serving of oily fish, like salmon,
Mm-hmm.
will contribute to our right intake of unsaturated fats. When cooking, we should boil, steam, or bake rather than frying. Remove the fatty part of the meat. Use vegetable oils.
I
don't
wouldn't
think
use
so.
any oils, vegetable oils. I mean, we've done shows in the past regarding what we feel about oils. Oils, like you want to eat olives, have the olives. Olive oil is kind of like a molecular change, and it's almost considered like junk food. And that's a show on its own. But eat the actual, like the avocado, the walnuts, the healthy fats. Um, that's what I would stick with. Number 4, enjoy plenty of fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are among the most important foods for giving us enough vitamins, minerals, and fiber. We should try to eat at least 5 servings a day. For example, a glass of fresh fruit juice at breakfast. I don't condone. I mean, I didn't write this article, but considering that people have sodas and all sorts of things that aren't even real, a glass of orange juice in the morning may not be so bad, but the orange is much better because it has the fiber in it. Perhaps an apple and a piece of watermelon as a snack, and a good portion of different vegetables at each meal. We try to stick with fruit in the morning when we have our oatmeal, and then we'll have a little bit of the berries because they're low glycemic with our cottage cheese at night.
Wanted to say hi to Elliot. Elliot says hello. And
Hey, Elliot.
Becky says, hello all. We'll just be listening tonight. Swollen jaw with abscess tooth.
Wow. So sorry about
Go to
that.
dentist at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow.
So sorry about that.
Know about?
Yeah, tooth, which that leads us to where, and one of the reasons I think we got back together again, we both lost. Yeah, the tooth, it was
On
like
the
a little
opposite side,
side.
but the same tooth.
Yeah, crazy stuff. Anyway,
Number 5, reduce salt and sugar intake. I know it's hard. I know that if you're a vegan, you say, oh, we shouldn't eat meat and stuff. We shouldn't eat animal products. But we shouldn't also eat things that are sugary,
Yep.
Because that is really going to hurt us in the long run.
Yeah, it's salt, too much salt, and processed sugars are definitely not a welcome item in your body.
A high salt intake can result in high blood pressure and increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. There are different ways to reduce salt in the diet, though.
Yes, they are. So when shopping, we could choose products with lower sodium content. It's important to always read the labels.
When cooking, salt can be substituted with spices, which is what we do, increasing the variety of flavors and tastes.
Yes, and when eating, it helps not to have salt at the table, or at least not to add salt before tasting. I've seen people, they haven't even tasted their food. They grab the salt shaker and it's...
Salt is like ketchup for some people.
Yeah, I don't even like the taste of salt, to tell you the truth.
Sugar provides sweetness and an attractive taste, but sugary foods and drinks are rich in energy and are best enjoyed in moderation. As an occasional treat, we could use fruits instead, even to sweeten our foods and drinks.
We use honey and stevia, and it's like you create your taste buds and what they are demanding of you. If you put a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, you're like deadening them, literally.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then they just want more and more and more. So we're not 5 anymore. Eat regularly, control the portion size. We used to make a massive, well, I don't want to call it a mistake. I think it helped during the time. Everything happens for a reason. We used to eat the 1 meal a day. And for a while there, we did the intermittent fasting, which was 2 meals a day. And I think what that does is it overly stretches your stomach because you get so used to eating lots and lots of food in one sitting. That can be good. It really extends your intestines and creates all sorts of problems. So eating a variety of foods regularly and in the right amounts is the best formula for a healthy diet. Skipping meals, especially breakfast, can lead to out-of-control hunger, often resulting in helpless overeating. Snacking between meals can help control hunger, But snacking should not replace proper meals. For snacks, we could use or choose yogurt, a handful of fresh or dry fruits or vegetables like carrot sticks, unsalted nuts, or perhaps some bread with cheese.
Oh, not a Snickers bar?
No, that's not even. Yeah.
Paying attention to portion size will help us not to consume too much calories and will allow us to eat all the foods we enjoy without having to eliminate any. Cooking the right amount makes it easier to not overeat. Some reasonable serving sizes are 100 grams of meat, one medium piece of fruit, a half cup of raw pasta.
Now, notice when people eat pasta, people don't realize how much carbohydrates.
Oh boy,
2 ounce,
40 some.
40 some. Look at what they're talking about here. A half a cup. Half a cup is not a lot.
Right.
So that we're talking about a little itsy bitsy. Like today, I gave us the gnocchi, and it was 100 grams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't that stuff is loaded with carbs. So using smaller plates helps with smaller servings. Packaged foods with calorie values on the pack could aid portion control. If eating out, we could share a portion with a friend. I always find that to be a good thing to do because usually at restaurants, oversized, especially
amounts.
if you're eating 4 or 5 small meals throughout the day.
Right.
You know, you don't want to when you start overstretching your stomach, that's when you get like you need to constantly eat so much that we're not meant. Your stomach is the size of your fist.
Although when you did like eat raw vegan, your stomach did get pretty distended and then it would go back down.
Right.
Because it was a quick processing.
Yes, they were easily digestible foods. But when you're eating foods that are like high in fat and you've got the meats and you've got the carbs and you got this whole combination that your body doesn't know what to do with.
I mean, you know how you feel after you've sat down for your Thanksgiving meal and you're full and then you go for like, you know, what is it, leftovers and stuff and reheat it at like 6 or 7 at night.
Yeah.
On that Thanksgiving evening, you're not really hungry.
No, you're just eating
it's like,
out of
so
boredom.
do you guys want a Thanksgiving, a turkey sandwich and the rest of the mashed potatoes? It's like, you shouldn't really probably be doing that.
No, you shouldn't be doing that at all, really.
Number 7 is drink plenty of fluids. Adults need to drink at least 1.5 liters of fluid a day, or more if it's very hot, or they are physically active. Water is the best source, of course, and we can use tap or mineral water, sparkling or non-sparkling, plain or flavored. Fruit juices, tea, soft drinks, milk, and other drinks can all be okay from time to time. Not the norm.
Right.
I mean, some people make those things, fruit juices,
yeah.
soft drinks, milk, tea, other drinks. They make those like the norm. And water gets booted right out.
Exactly. So maintain a healthy body weight. The right weight for each of us depends on factors like our gender, our height, our age, and genes. Being affected by obesity and overweight increases the risk of a wide range of diseases, including diabetes, which is rampant in the United States and around the world, heart disease, and cancer, all of which a lot of people are getting as well.
You know, I was going to say one thing about that in understanding the classifications that they use medically when they term someone obese, someone as being overweight, someone as being morbidly obese. You could be obese, and the word, it sounds very offensive, right, to most people. But the fact is that most people are probably obese.
Oh, they are. If your fat percentage is higher than 30%, if you're a woman, and for a guy, if it's higher than, I think, 15 or 20%, that would make you obese. It doesn't mean that you're like what we normally think of as obese people. Those people that we think of obese people are morbidly obese. But the majority of Americans and people around the world are obese. Their fat percentage is way higher than the proportion of muscle that they have to their body, their height, and their age, and things of that nature. When you and I got together this summer, we were both obese. We were both up and above the fat percentage that is healthy. Anything above 30% is obesity.
Right.
And most people are in their 50s and God knows what else, you know?
Yeah, if you can't see your abs, then you pretty much
are
are
about 30.
fat,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I know that sounds offensive for a lot of people. They go, "Oh, I would never see my abs," but there are reasons that we can't see the ab muscle, and one of the reasons is because there's a layer of fat that's covering that muscle.
And it's very dangerous if your body fat is above, 30% and 35%, because it's going to affect your organs, your health in general. Lower fat percentages bring on better health, and that's just facts.
Excess body fat comes from eating more than we need. The extra calories can come from any caloric nutrient, a protein, a fat, a carbohydrate, or alcohol. But fat is the most concentrated source of energy. Physical activity helps us spend the energy and makes us feel good. The message is reasonably simple. If we are gaining weight, we need to eat less and be more active.
And that's the bottom line. Most people are not active and they eat more than their body needs. And that's what, excess calorie does. It gets stored into your fat cells and you start looking bigger and bigger. And number 9, get on the move, make it a habit. Physical activity is important for people of all weight ranges and health conditions. It helps us burn off the extra calories. It is good for the heart and circulatory system. It maintains or increases our muscle mass. It helps us focus and improves overall health and our well-being. We don't have to be top athletes to get on the move. 115 minutes per week or moderate physical activity is advised, and it can easily become part of our daily routine. We all could
use the stairs instead of the elevator.
Yes. Go for a walk during lunch breaks and stretch out in our offices or in between.
Make time for a family weekend activity. And one of the things that is important to note on this is that cardiovascular health is important, but more important than cardiovascular health is being able to get our metabolism under control.
Yes.
And metabolism doesn't really get taken care of by cardiovascular activity.
No, because it's cardiovascular is just burning calories. You're not really fixing the problem. You need to fix the problem by gaining muscle. As we age, we start to lose muscle, and that's one of the reasons. As we get older, we start getting flabbier because our metabolism slows down. Muscle is your engine. The more muscle you have, the more revved up your engine is, the more calories you get to eat. It works beautifully that way.
Number 10, start now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, and keep changing gradually. Gradual changes in our lifestyle are easier to maintain than major changes introduced all at once. For 3 days, we could write down the foods and the drinks we consume throughout the day and make a note of the amount of movement we made. It won't be difficult to spot where we could improve.
Skipping breakfast? Well, a small bowl of muesli, a piece of bread or fruit could help slowly introduce it into our routine.
Too few fruits and vegetables? To start with, we can introduce one extra piece a day. I love my vegetables. I mean, that's probably one of my most favorite parts of having our lunch is the amount of fresh veggies. And lately we bought this, there was some fresh Brussels sprouts that came like on the stalk, literally.
Huge.
For $2, we got like a stalk.
The Brussels sprouts are this big on that stalk, and it's amazing.
God, so good.
It's just, we love raw vegetables. We don't do as much fruits because fruits can get you into trouble. I mean, it's still spikes you up.
This summer, I thought literally that having a grove of cherry trees, that it was just going to be like a free-for-all. And I remember going out there and getting some cherries and just getting lost there because, they're everywhere. Just picking them off the tree and then putting them into the bag and thinking, wow, this is really healthy for me. And I'm just gobbling them up. And it's like calories in, sugar in, carbs in.
People don't realize it's food combination. If you're a fruitarian, that's all you eat is fruit, then you can eat all the fruit you want because that's all you're eating with some greens. No problem. The body's going to go through that like, phew. I lost a lot of weight when I was a fruitarian. But when you're eating fruit and you're combining it with fat and other carbs and protein, you get yourself into trouble because Some
Cherries and
things
tortilla chips.
don't go together. You will
Don't.
see the pounds pack on you.
They
I
do.
promise.
They do.
So let's see. Favorite foods high in fat? Well, eliminating them abruptly could fire back and make us return to old habits. We can choose low fat options instead, eat them less frequently and in smaller portions. We do walnuts, almonds, and avocados for our fats. That's our main fat source. And whatever, we try to buy the lean meats, but
Right.
like the other day we had a steak and I ate the fat because it hadn't
Yeah.
been so long,
Right.
I think a little bit every so often ain't going to hurt you, but you've got to try to keep it, to a minimum.
Too little activity. Using the stairs daily could be a great first move.
Yeah. And that's important, people. We have to like try to keep active as much as we can. We try to be in the gym for like two and so hours, and we love to walk. Unfortunately, living here in Portland this time of year, it's wet, it's cold. We're not into walking in that kind of condition.
You see people walking though.
I know.
I mean, it's like
We tried once. Remember, we went out. We're like, okay,
we were like, oh,
all right, we're gonna
this
muster
isn't gonna
the.
work. This isn't
And
gonna
it's
work.
like, what? Not even a few blocks in, we
well,
looked at each other.
You really don't like rain on your glasses.
Yeah, well, who does?
The drizzle all over your.
Yeah, but I had my hoodie. But it was like we looked at each other and we kind of went, nah,
Not for us.
no.
We are warm climate people,
Yeah.
and that's definitely something that we're going to address in the future.
Yeah. Let's see. What's that? This here. But yeah, so walking is something that's we love to do, and it's really good for you. When you walk, I think that's one of the times we lost a lot of body fat. We will walk for like at one point we did 13 miles a day.
I remember we told your sister that we were walking 13 hours a day, 13 miles a day, and she's like, "How do you guys find enough time to do that?" It's like, yeah, well, it's our life, you know, and we're just doing it.
I love to walk. I think walking is good for your emotional, your mental, your spiritual health. You're out in nature. It's food for the eyes. You're like really, and then it's just especially if you do it for more than 5 miles, you'd be surprised how much fat you burn.
I think that walking is a great substitute for having to feel like you need to take drugs. To deal with anxiety, to deal with depression, to deal with a whole host of other psychological issues that one might be facing.
Yeah, and we're not your doctor. We're not doctors. If you need to take whatever it is, consult your doctor, and that's what you got to do. But for us, walking, exercising, eating healthy works for us. It makes us feel good. It keeps that anxiety level for us at bay. So, but you guys, make sure you talk to your doctor about that. Anyway, so here are 17 easy things you can do to become a more spiritual person.
Why 17?
I don't know. I found this and I thought, no, 17 small changes can make a big difference in your spiritual journey. Can't speak much today. Notice spirituality, not religious, not cultish,
Right.
but spirituality.
It's a common misconception that you have to be religious in order to be spiritual.
There we go.
But in reality, there is no single way to be a spiritual person. Spirituality is deeply personal, explains Jeanette Schneider, a self-help expert and author of Lore, Harnessing Your Past to Create Your Future. It isn't a class, a church group, or a belief system. It is the moments when you are quiet, reflective, and intentional that you become your own teacher and guide. And it is in those moments that you commune with your own higher power and answers become clear.
When I think of higher power, I think of my higher self, me and another part of, we want to call them dimension. And I think that quiet space. And I do that when I go to sleep every night. I literally talk to my higher self and, in my dream state and make sure that if there's anything that I need to know, anything that I need to really take a look at, I want to be shown to me in my dream state and just become really in tune with self, because we're always looking outside of ourselves for all sorts of answer when the answer is within you. So this is great advice here. So if it isn't about going to church or studying the Quran, then how can you make conscious efforts to become more spiritual? Well, luckily, there are many spiritual experts out there who are ready and able to guide you as you embark on your existential journey. But I, again, regress. It's all in you. You shouldn't look up to anyone else. No Bible, no Quran, no Jesus, no Gandhi, nobody but yourself. To get started, there's a compilation of different tips here on this article that we're reading for you so you can become a more spiritual, happier person. So here we go. Number one.
Help others. In order to become a more spiritual person, you must first realize that we are all here on earth to help each other, explains Mary Potter Kenyon, a certified grief counselor and program coordinator for the Shalom Spirituality Center in Iowa. Helping others doesn't necessarily mean joining the Peace Corps. Whenever you can, Kenyon suggests, that you simply extend a helping hand, smile at people, or reach out and hug someone to open your heart and fine-tune your spirituality.
I find this is very important, and it's worth its weight in gold. When you are of service to others and you get away from the me, that feels really good. It really does. When you're like really getting gross and get away from self, and you're really like, what can you do to make somebody else's life better? Whether it's volunteering your time, whether it's just smiling at somebody, helping an old lady cross the street, whatever it is, that is so spiritually uplifting. You know, you get all these churches that people go and donate money and they sit there and they do what. I can't see that as spirituality at all. You know, that's just, to me, is let's make the pastor rich and feed the corporation that doesn't pay taxes to tell you how to feel and think and what to believe in. Number two, okay, make a wish list. A spiritual wish list, not which, but wish list doesn't contain Amazon goodies and concert tickets. Oh, no, rather it should include items that foster self-love. And this is very important right here. There's a lot of people, okay, and especially this day and age, they live on online buying stuff, you know, and things. What are you going to get? What's the material, right? Well, it should be more about self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-respect, self-appreciation, and self-gratitude, writes Jacqueline Purdy, a spiritual life coach, in her book 365 Days of Happiness, because happiness is a piece of cake, the cake you should be eating. If you're still not sure what to put on your list, Purdy suggests to start with things like, I wish for me to treat myself like my own best friend, and I wish for me to relax and spend time in quiet and in peace. In other words, think about the energy of desires, wishes, hopes, happiness, gifts, dreams, and feel-good intentions, which don't have to be any materialism, but just feelings, learning to be in touch with you.
Number three, spend 15 minutes every morning with the 5-5-5 practice. The 5-5-5 practice is a morning mindfulness practice created by Uma Bipat that can put the mind in a state of spirituality. It basically just involves spending 5 minutes in meditation, 5 minutes stretching, and 5 minutes mentally preparing for the day, explains Bipat, a consciousness coach and owner of Lotus Wellness Center. And for more ways to have a good morning, read through these 50 good morning quotes to inspire your day, according to the article, which has a link to it.
Yeah. So number four, learn to forgive. Forgiveness is crucial for spiritual growth, explains Fisa Shamugam, a mindset and empowerment coach in Maryland. Whether you realize it or not, we hold on to so much trauma from as recently as yesterday when someone was rude to you at the checkout counter, all the way back to your oldest childhood memory, when kids call you weird. Remember those days? To assist in the process of letting go, Shamugam suggests that you write a forgiveness list that includes all of the people who you believe have wronged you, and then just decide to forgive them. You have the power to do it. And it doesn't mean you forget, but you let go, because when you hold on to that anger and you hold on to that pain, it affects you. It doesn't affect the other person you're mad at. They're still, happy as can be. But when you hold on to those things, And again, it doesn't mean that you're just going to like, let people step all over you. But when you cut that tie, when you cut that umbilical cord and don't let those things continue to bring you down and haunt you, and you feel like you're some sort of victim, you will be the victor.
Number 5, practice patience. Wow, Portland needs to learn this one.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of new things like books, salt lamps, and essential oils in order to become more spiritual. It's more about taking advantage of the opportunities that are all around you, explains J.A. Plosker, MAJD, MSW, LMSW, all these wonderful acronyms. A mindfulness speaker and author of the Nobody Bible, uncovering the simple wisdom in ordinary life. For instance, on those days when traffic is terrible, Plosker says that you can use that to your advantage to commit to being more patient. These small steps that you take every day can lighten your spirit and create more inner peace.
When people that pray and they pray for patience, or they, you don't get patience magically given to you. You learn patience by dealing with impatient situations. The stronger you become at that, the better you become. It's like going to the gym and working out a muscle. You don't just go, well, I wish that I was less this, that, and the other. You got to work at it. It's like working out a muscle. It's like you take the time to really improve yourself, because it's all about growth. Number 6, always be truthful. This is very important. In order to achieve a higher state of spirituality, the aura needs to be as clean as possible, says Kadeem Halston Roman, a spiritual advisor and co-founder of Full Force Wellness. When someone lies, it is clairvoyantly seen that gray clouds emanate from their aura. He says, if you want to keep your aura clear so that light can shine through, then make sure that you're always telling the truth. And yes, little white lies do count.
Number 7, start a gratitude journal. What we focus on is what we will manifest in our lives, explains B. Pat. Keeping a gratitude journal gives us time to reflect on the events of the day and remember with happiness the things big and small that made us smile. Becoming more spiritual isn't the only reason you should practice giving more thanks. Check out these other things in the links, 20 science backed benefits of gratitude. So there are benefits of having an attitude of gratitude.
Well, always. I've always heard, I've watched the movie The Secret, and, a lot of spiritual stuff that I'm watching today. Being grateful is amazing for your spiritual growth. Because, you got these kids that are whining and always wanting something and never happy with nothing in life. It's like, give me, what's next? Gratitude is something that really, it just does something to you. And all of a sudden, everything just starts going your way. If you're not happy about things and always complaining about something, you're going to get more of the same. But if you're grateful, even if the smallest things, that's just powerful. Listen to your instincts. Spiritual people know about the value of using their guts to make informed and intuitive decisions. Never leave home without it. Our gut is extremely accurate at telling us what feels good and what doesn't. But most often, we ignore it and ask our brain to make the decision instead, says Shanmugam. Take more opportunities to listen and follow what your gut tells you to do. And it never fails. Don't listen to your gut, boom.
We're not talking about your stomach.
Right? No. That's that inner instinct. That's that inner knowing that we all have, but we've ignored it because we've been taught to think, right, to be analytical, to tell me what the TV tells me to do. Should I buy this product because they're telling me because it's appearing on my smartphone? Or are you really going with your gut instinct, your inner self, that higher self that is in a higher place and it's kind of guiding you while you're here?
Number 9, laugh often. Spirituality and contentedness tend to go hand in hand, which is why laughing more often is one of the best ways to transform yourself into a more metaphysical human being. Laughing carries an energy of joy, silliness, playfulness, happiness, and fun, explains Pertle in 365 Days of Happiness.
When you laugh, you immediately shift to be and live in a high for life frequency. And with that, you shift everything and everyone around you too. You should try it. You laugh and you like go into a room and you come in with a very nice big smile and a very positive attitude. It's contagious. You walk into a room and you're all thinking about everything bad and you're never happy about anything. It kind of brings everyone down. So if you choose to make laughing your default reaction, no matter what's happening for you, you will experience everything and everyone through your laughing filter. Yep.
Number 10, eliminate envy.
Oh, boy.
Spirituality and selfishness do not mesh well.
Mm-hmm.
In order to become one with the world, you first need to work on congratulating people on their successes instead of being envious, says Plosker. Envy is a normal human emotion, but you must fight to transform this feeling into something positive and kind if you want to be a more spiritual person.
I truly believe that's what we're here to do, to learn to evolve spiritually. Okay? But we've been taught from a very young age to be competitive, to be envious of everyone else that's around us. If somebody else has more than you, or somebody else has a better personality, or somebody else is, we're always taught to like, why are they that way? And that's not helpful at all. You want to really, if you want to grow spiritually, you got to let go of all that baggage because it just weighs you down. And envy is one of that heavy, heavy, heavy burden that no one should ever have to even carry. Find something to believe in. Doesn't have to be some Bible, some crucified deity that you believe in, but something. Even if it means, okay, you believe in your higher self. You believe in each other. I think that's something that most people need to learn how to do, is to believe in one another, that we can do this, that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. Faith in yourself and in something higher than yourself is a game changer, says Schneider. Even if you aren't religious, you can still aim to connect to the universe in a way that strengthens your spirituality and, more importantly, your relationship with yourself, higher self.
Number 12, find a spiritual community and join it. The juice of the spiritual berry, in my opinion, comes from being around like-minded company, says BPAT. Surrounding yourself with others who are on a spiritual journey, whether that's in a person, at a wellness center, or online in a Facebook group, gives you a place to hang out, learn, chill, and ask questions.
Without being judgmental, as many religious groups do. Be open to new experiences. That is so important. We're taught, do the same thing every day. No, you can't do this. No, you have to. And we need to be open. We need to be flexible. Closing yourself off to new experiences and emotions is going to make your journey towards spirituality incredibly difficult. Instead of being closed-minded and stubborn, you should start each new day by setting the intention to be open and to receive all inspirations coming your way, writes Pirtle.
Number 14, learn to love yourself.
Yes.
According to Margaret Paul, PhD, a relationship expert and co-founder of the Inner Bonding Self-Healing Process, spirituality is all about being kind and caring enough to connect with the love, peace, and joy of spirit. But in order to do that, you must first learn to love yourself. When we choose to be open to learning about loving ourselves and others, our heart opens, Paul explains. And if you struggle with self-doubt, you can try to do different things to work on that.
Exactly. And loving self is something that many religion groups teach you not to do. They teach you to hate yourself and to put yourself last, him first, you're last, your identity don't matter, his identity, and all that. Just like really, it's like taking a flower and yelling at it. It will whittle up and get all messed up. And that's what, in my opinion, religion does. It makes you feel as small, and it doesn't allow you to grow spiritually. But again, I don't think religion wants anyone to grow spiritually. I think they want to stunt it. Yes, totally. So fill your body with healthy foods. Is so important, guys. What's happening inside of your body has just as much of an effect on your spirituality as what's happening outside of it. And I see a lot of Christians, they eat terribly. You know,
Yeah.
they don't care about what they're putting in their body. So I'm like very confused because your body is your temple. It starts here. Then everything just starts to like evolve. I know that when I became a raw vegan, because I needed to for that time and period, my spirituality soared. I was so in touch with nature. I was so in touch with my inner feelings. It was amazing. Great time. When we eat high vibrancy foods, clean, unprocessed foods, we raise the frequency of our body high enough so that, along with our intent to learn about love, you can access our higher personal spiritual guidance. You have to do that. If you're eating junk food and eating fried foods and just drinking yourself to oblivion, you're not going to be in a good spiritual place. It's impossible.
Yeah.
You know?
Number 16, savor the little things. Take time to enjoy small, positive moments, says Jamie Price, a mindfulness and wellness expert and co-founder of the wellness app. Stop, breathe, and think. Slow down and notice what you see, hear, smell, feel, and taste. Really paying attention to your experience. This simple shift in attention can boost your happiness, and it will increase your capacity to enjoy pleasant events overall. This is connectivity, which is, in a sense, spirituality.
And what's the biggest problem that I see today, especially with our youth? Everything's what's next, what's next. We look at our smartphone, it's like information after information. We're not even digesting. We're not even like reflecting on what we read when the next information is coming up. We lose all sense of now. We lose all sense of where we are in space. When people eat, they don't even savor the food or chew it. It's just like boom, boom, boom. You know, it's so important to slow down, to like be grateful of the air that's running in your face, the sounds that you're hearing from the birds, just really sticking to the now and the moment and just being present. That's just, it's worth its weight in gold. And to do that, meditation. Meditate is something that is, I can't even explain it, but meditation opens the door for a greater sense of connection with the divine. And you know who that divine is? That is you. And this is said by Robin McKay, PhD, an executive coach and psychologist who focuses on spiritual growth and development. If your aim is to practice spirituality every day, and notice the word practice because it takes practice, then her advice is to set aside time every day to meditate with the specific intentions of connecting with your heart. This little ticker right here that keeps you alive. It also has some spiritual ties to it. If you have trouble clearing your mind while meditating, focus on a candle, put some music, focus on your breath. You know, our minds are so wired to like, what's next, that when it doesn't have anything to think about, it panics. And that's why people get anxiety, because it's that constant rat race. We need to learn how to slow down. We need to like have moments of peace. So anyway, this is pretty cool. Pretty cool. 17.
17.
Awesome. Hope you guys are doing well. Kind of quiet in the chat room there. So let's see here. Several things, but I want to touch base on what we call the show today, which is transgender dynamics in the workplace. You know, I think we all, as individuals, have issues. You don't have to be trans to find, you know, feeling alone, feeling outcast, feeling that you're not being treated as an equal. I think everyone that lives on this beautiful blue planet has experienced that somehow, some way. But when you're dealing with conditions that make you stand out, especially in the workplace, and you know, I was lucky enough that when I transitioned, I had my own business, but I still had to deal with my clients and explaining to them what I was doing. And I'm sure that you, when you transition and you're in the workplace, and especially because you come from a Christian background and you're working for Christian organization.
Well,
that was
well. What happened was, I remember I was on a trip out to Arizona actually, and a friend of mine, I told him that I was trans, and I told him that I was beginning the process of transition. This was back early 2014, January, and I remember, him, taking it in, and we sat in the balcony of the hotel and sat there, and then he was just processing it, and he's like, well, if you need any help, if you need to get an arrangement for like a meeting and stuff to get people together, I'm on your side. I'm for you. I'm on your corner, onward, upward is what he said. And then when the rubber met the road and it was time for me to show my mug for the first time, transition, I was on a college basketball game, and I remember I was just like so nervous. I was like, what in the world? And my first experience working in the arena where I was working doing college major hockey sports and stuff, I remember that first day I was like, I don't know if I'm ready yet to go, I was hiding underneath the bleachers, and eventually I just, it was tough.
It is.
It's hard.
It's not easy.
It wasn't easy. It was a challenge for sure. And I am so glad those days are behind me, but I think I just pushed right through them, but it was a challenge for everybody, to deal with.
Terry joins us, and Terry says,
hi all. I usually try to smile or laugh through stressful situations, but I sometimes piss off others who feel my laughing is inappropriate.
Yeah, sometimes we do that nervous laugh thing, or we try to like you said, it's just
play things off.
Play things off, and so sometimes people read that as inappropriate. But I get you. I totally get what you're saying, and thank you for joining us. So like I said, I was lucky that I didn't have an employer when I transitioned. I was my own employer, but I had clients. And that was one of those things, well, they know me well enough that hopefully they could understand, and they don't think that I'm, back in the day, in 2003, this trans thing was not a well-known stuff.
Right.
So, some of them were trying to keep a straight face and trying to like, oh yeah, congratulations and all that stuff, but
I remember that, that moment on that day that I showed up for that basketball game. It was like, I remember a few people, they kind of like connected the dots, because although I wasn't transitioning, like officially, I had begun my transition in stages, throughout the year before. And I had let my hair grow a little longer. I had, I had lost some weight, or, there was just different things. And I remember one specific time, this one guy that I was working with, he was like, oh, so that's why I saw you at that place, and you look kind of different, and you said that it wasn't you, but it was. Oh, I get it now. And it was like, this is a really stressful time in the life of a trans person to come out to people, like, especially for a trans woman, because it's like, there's no getting your man card back, once you go down that road, it's gone, but different situations, different career paths and stuff are going to be more gentle, this day and age,
I truly, believe that trans people are blessed compared to 20, 30 years ago. Even when I came out in 2003, it wasn't heard of a lot. So there's been a lot of leeway, or a lot of like great advancements that have been made, and it's a lot easier. You mention the word trans now, people know what you're talking about. Back then you mentioned the word trans, I'm like, what is that? Anyway, Mario Gravis joins us, and he says, Mario
He's
Gravis.
got another
Oh, wait,
one
let
before.
me see. Do you think it's reasonable for coworkers?
Marlo.
Oh, Marlo. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Marlo
Graves. Marlo Graves.
Yeah.
Do you think it's reasonable for coworkers to refuse to use they, them, their pronouns for trans people that request it? I think that they're being not reasonable. When somebody asks you, can you please refer to me as whatever pronoun you wish? I think it's respectful for somebody to honor that. You know, I mean, why wouldn't I honor somebody's request? You know, like if somebody comes
Well-
in and says, hi, my name is Bob, but you could call me Billy or B for short. You know, go, can you please refer to me as such and such?
I think, you know, depending on the person, they have other reasons why they wouldn't honor someone's pronouns, you know,
Mhm.
like religious obligations that they have that trumps anyone else's, you know, personal, you know, request. You know, they're like, well, God doesn't, you know, I remember when I first transitioned and I was at the job and, you know, there were people that were really nice and they were very accepting and accommodating for me, making it easier.
Right.
But there were those that were adamant
Well, yeah.
and they refused. And, you know, honestly, I didn't make them do anything. I didn't file a report or complain or anything. I just knew that this was a part of the process. And I think that being gracious and being accommodating, even to those that don't want to accommodate you, is a better way to go than to demand something from people. You know what I mean?
Demanding is never good, but I think that just common courtesy. I mean, if you're a vegan and somebody else next to you is eating meat, you're not going to force them to stop eating meat because you're a vegan. If you believe in Christ and somebody else doesn't, you shouldn't be forcing people to believe in what you want to believe. If someone has legally changed their name or has a preference in how they want to be referred as, why does that take so much effort to just
Again,
keep the
religious
peace?
obligations, they feel like they have to, you know, dishonor someone by doing that because by that they're acknowledging their real truth, you know, and
right, and
they
that
think
just
that the
kinda
person's
shows-
like loony or something.
That just kind of shows the kind of person that they are or the God that they're following. That's why I refuse to follow their God anymore.
Oh, we had another. Yeah.
Okay. So
Do you think trans people should insist on saying these are my correct pronouns as opposed to these are my preferred pronouns?
Prefer sounds kinder. I mean, when you become confrontational with someone, you're going to get a confrontational response. So, you know, everyone's walking on eggshells regarding something, and you want to like make things go a little smooth. So, prefer pronouns, being polite. You know, I think the demanding, because I've seen some trans people that are very demanding, that doesn't help anyone. That just makes two people butt heads. But if you say, you know, can you please, you know, refer to me as such, be kind, don't demand it, don't start throwing things around, having fits, as we've seen many of these viral videos. You know, I think that communication and trying to coexist is one way of solving this problem.
So Marlo says,
Terry.
Oh, Terry?
Yeah.
I think it is a slippery slope when we start making rules about what words someone has to say.
I don't think it should be a rule. I think it should just be common courtesy. You know, that if someone, you know, is trans, gender non-conforming, why do we want to make them feel bad? I mean,
I personally think that you can never go wrong by calling someone by the name that they're going by. You know, if you don't want to acknowledge they, them, theirs, his, hers, z, zers, all those different things, you could just call them by their name.
Right.
You know, like I would never have been insulted by someone calling me Lynna.
Right.
You know, if that's the chosen name that I wanted myself to be called, I had no problem with people not saying she, her.
Right.
You know, I mean, because it was like, okay, just acknowledge me as Lynna. That's all I want. I don't really care for you to get into a battle of genders and all that. This isn't really about gender. This is about someone's personal identification and using their name.
Right, and just being courteous. And Marlo Graves says, I'm thinking about safety considerations.
Safety considerations for the trans person being disrespected by not getting their pronoun that they would make them feel more comfortable. I mean, honestly, these are just words. And if someone could have the grace to be able to give people a little compassion when it comes to dealing with gender dysphoria and the issues of gender that some of us struggle with and deal with, and is a lifelong thing, why is that so hard to do?
Right. And
why is that so
they go
difficult?
on saying if you're in a factory, you might not want to use plural pronouns as singular and plural because you don't want to cause confusion and lose track of how many people you have and where they are located.
Those are semantics, I think. I mean, I think that, Marlo, you need to ask yourself the deeper question. And the deeper question is, why do I not want to call a person by the pronouns that they want to be called by?
Right.
Is it a personal issue, or is it another like issue that religion instills, or is it just that you prefer as a person not to give that person that kind of respect?
Mean, there are
courtesy?
Gender nonconforming people that don't identify as a he or a she, and they rather be addressed as them or they. And I think, I mean, if we look at the dictionary, how many new words have been created in that Webster dictionary? The English language has taken on a massive evolution. You know, it's part of evolving as a species. You know, we need to like be a little bit more open-minded than what we are, and not so much into the semantics of this is how it should be and these are the rules and the regulations, because evolution of our species has led us to where we are today. We shouldn't like just be so black or white or so concrete with everything, because nothing on this planet is black and white, not even the biological sex, because there's many intersex individuals. There's things that are changing and evolving as we speak today. So let's see there.
Marlo says there are people that are opposed to using plural pronouns for reasons other than religion.
Well, I mean, everyone has their opposed reasoning for many things, but, you know, we have to learn to be respectful. You know, and I think that's something that doesn't take a lot to do. You know, what reasons could anyone have to deny someone their pronoun or their legal name change or whatever it is? Brianna. Hey, Brianna, thank you so much for the donation the other day. Appreciate it so very much. Thank you.
Very much so.
And she says, Lynna, what made you transition when you did, knowing the stakes were so high?
Well, the stakes were so high for me if I didn't transition, because at that point in my life, I had basically kind of reached a decision point. You know, I had this fork in my road of life to decide how I was going to live the rest of my life. And I want to live it in that way, the way that I had been told that I needed to live it, or was I going to forge my own path and live my life in the way that I felt that I needed to live it, and to be true and honest with myself? And quite honestly, gender isn't the reason that I transitioned. It is really kind of like one of the things that came about through it, but my personal, investment in this was to become the best version of myself that I could be. And I realized that the stakes were high and the losses were going to be great. I was going to face a lot of casualties on my side of things, and I was going to suffer. But I just couldn't think of living life any other way, because I wanted to find the truth. I wanted to find the truth about myself, about who I was, about what I was here to do, about my purpose, and that is really kind of like my major reason for transition, was really questioning and wanting to find the truth. For the longest time as a child, my deepest desire was to know the truth, you know.
And Lisa Woke joins us, and she says,
Some folks have never met someone transgender, and you can use the moment to educate. So you want to represent the community as positively as possible.
that's very true. And like I mentioned earlier, we don't have to get all upset at people. We have to be as compassionate with that person as we want compassion with us.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Marlo.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Wonderful super chat.
Thank you. And she says, thank you for taking my questions. You two are great. Well, thank you. Thank you. And let's see here. As trans man, I'm learning how to navigate the world too, and it's definitely a learning experience. It is. Gosh, there's so much to learn, both as a transgender person and as a person who's not transgender. These are, even though transgender or transsexualism has been around since the beginning of time, we didn't have the surgeries and the hormones, but people express differently from the birth that they were assigned, or the gender they were assigned at birth. But it's not easy for anyone. It really isn't. It's something that for both parents and siblings and just friends and neighbors and everyone, it's like something that really makes people's head turn because they're trying to understand it. So our job as transgender individuals is to educate and be kind and be compassionate. And I know that we've all failed at one point or another, but that's what being human is all about. You're growing, you're evolving, you're learning. I think that learning to be respectful to one another, it's worth its weight in gold. How you express, how you educate, how you tell people things will make a massive difference. Because like you said, you might be the first person they've ever met. If you give them a bad experience, then all of a sudden they think everybody that's trans is bad.
Yeah, it's like being a trans person, being a couple that's trans and stuff, we really don't see the rarity of what it is that we are part of, in society. And we really don't understand that some people have never met a trans person. I mean, for me, it's like, really? In this day and age, right?
Oh,
Caitlyn Jenner came out in 2015, and, a lot of things have happened with rapid onset gender dysphoria and a lot of transitioning kids out there and stuff like that. But still, the percentages are minuscule. I mean, we're talking 3% of the general public. I mean, that is not many at all. So when we think about it, I think that there should be a lot more compassion for the detransitioner, for the transitioner.
Yes.
And for those that seek to want to understand, the best way to understand is to show compassion. Because, this may not end up a lifelong journey for most people. Most people will take a dip in the waters of transition and decide that it's not for them. And that is perfectly fine. We should be able to have the grace to give to people to say, hey, you know what? No, it wasn't that you made a mistake. You use this as an experience.
Right.
You use this as a learning tool, to be able to grow as a person. And maybe it didn't work for you. Maybe it was meant for you to avoid a suicidal ideation that you could have fallen into, I mean, so there's different things.
Yeah, and I just think that we are, as a species, learning to navigate these things that we're seeing evolve right before our very eyes, whether it's gender non-congruency, gender queer, full-on transsexual or transgender. These are things that are being thrown at people and they're not ready for it. But I think that as trans individuals, we owe it to the world to be compassionate, to explain, to be patient, and not always get upset and angry when we don't hear the pronouns that we want to hear. I think that we could teach each other how to walk this path, coexist, and create some sort of win-win for everyone, And Brianna CC says, let's see here. That happens to me at my job. A guy walked up to me to tell me he never met one. He was very kind and courteous. There you go. And that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think we're going to see more and more of that with each passing day, because it's not so foreign anymore.
Right.
You know, it's like I said, when I came out in 2003, it was like, what's that? What, you're doing what? You know, and people were like flipping out. And I think that, you know, people like Jenner, you know, and many that have come before us made the path a lot easier, and it's only going to get easier. But with that comes a danger as well, because then everybody wants to transition because they think that that's the solution. And, you know, everyone should be allowed to explore that avenue. But we also have to have an open mind that that avenue may not be the right avenue for you. And that's okay. You know, don't kick yourself in the you know where. Don't get upset. We shouldn't get upset at detransitioners. They are entitled to detransition. We should all be understanding and compassionate with one another and understand that it's life. It's a journey. It's a self journey of self-discovery and growth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's see here. So let's talk about the tips for handling transgender dynamics in the workplace. When a coworker makes the very big step of transitioning from one gender to another, it can mean big changes for everyone they work with too.
Remember, it reminds me, I was doing sports, right?
Mhm.
So I was doing camera, and I would be placed in the men's locker room before the game started,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to get the players warm-ups and their, you know, whatever, getting ready for the game. Well, as soon as I transitioned, they said, we're no longer going to allow you to be in the men's locker room during, you know, and it was like, you know, they're trying to wrap their head around it, you know, and they're like, well, if women aren't allowed in the men's locker room, you, a woman, are not allowed in the men's locker room. This is going to be your job from now on. You're no longer going to do this. It's a learning curve for everybody.
For everyone.
Yeah.
HR,
yeah.
places,
So like,
yeah.
they're playing like roulette, you know,
Yeah.
trying not to offend and
Yeah.
not to get set up for lawsuits and stuff. I remember being told that, you know, they supported me. Coming out as a gender a person most closely identifies with takes guts and a certain amount of faith that the people they work with most closely will be supportive. And that's one of the things also is, you know, hey, Lopez, you know, if you were like a jerk and stuff, I mean, we would have a hard time with this, but you were always a nice person. So, you know, it was, looking back, it was a real crazy time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Crazy time.
Most people these days want to handle their transgender coworker with respect. And if that's the case for you, here's how to do it. You would hope so. You would hope. I think that in general, people want to be supportive. No one really wants to hurt people. I mean, I know that there are a group of people that are very religious and very stoic in their ways, but, you know, I would hope that they would put their religious belief aside, because this is not about them. And see, that's where like being selfless comes in. It's not about them. It's about how are you making that other person feel. And that, if you're going to be a Christian, that should be your number one thing. The caring of others, not about your own belief system. So use the right pronouns. Your coworker probably wants to be addressed as the gender they're transitioning to. If Alex is now Alexa, that means he should now be addressed as she. If you're not sure, it's okay to ask.
Your coworker will most likely be glad to let you know what pronouns they would like and can help you if you make a mistake.
Be understanding about the bathroom. And that's one of the biggest ordeals ever, bathrooms. One of the biggest transgender issues that cause strife in the workplace is which bathroom the transitioning coworker uses. The media has made a sensation out of offices that have required transgender people to use the bathroom of their biological gender, or the disabled bathroom, which is insulting in its own way.
Your transgender coworker isn't trying to get a peek. They're just trying to use the restroom. It doesn't need to be an office drama.
Don't assume. No matter how open your coworker is to talking about transitioning, Don't assume it's okay to ask them about their medical condition. Asking if they've had surgery, hormones, or other augmentations is extremely rude and make them uncomfortable. While some transgender people may feel comfortable sharing this information, it should be entirely up to them.
Your coworker wouldn't ask you what you went to when you went to the gynecologist for, and asking about their surgeries or hormones is on the same level. Don't ask about anything medical unless it is personally brought up by your coworker.
Help others. Not everyone is going to feel comfortable welcoming a transgender person in the office. Some people feel that being transgender is unacceptable due to religious reasons or other differences. It's important to understand that personal values are not the same as office culture. And that's right there. Personal value, that's just stay at home. Whatever you believe in, that's on you, but do not treat people offensively because your religious beliefs doesn't allow you to be kind to something you don't understand. And that something you don't understand is usually either someone being gay, a lesbian, or a trans person. Just be a good person.
If other people try to talk to you about the transgender person behind their back, gently remind them of this fact. Even if you don't personally agree with being a transgender yourself, it's not your life to lead.
Simple.
Yeah. One of the things that once someone told me was, Lopez, your videos are now like must-see TV for people. It's like they were like telling me that I was the most popular, person that was on the crew. And the thing was that nobody was talking to me, but everybody was talking about
gossip.
Me.
Gossip. Yeah. So giving your transgender respect that it serve as a human is important. And that means not gossiping, belittling, or shaming another human being.
I don't know why they say giving your transgender.
I know, I read that. I'm going,
being a transgender yourself. It's like transgendered people in the office is a relatively new phenomenon. But respecting others and treating them properly, even when they are different from you, is as old as time.
If your coworker has taken the bold step of announcing that they are transitioning, helping them adjust to their new gender role in the office place is something they will appreciate, and so will the rest of your team too. Yeah, it's it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Let's see, Mr. Slate joins us.
What's a good transgender dating site?
There's probably a dime a dozen. Go ahead and Google, and I'm sure.
Brianna says, I had a decent experience with POF. Another girl I knew used Tinder. But
I've never used any transgender site. Never have.
Yeah.
But
certain people like
there's a dime a dozen.
Yeah, they're out there. People could download them on their phone.
I've never used a dating site before. I've either met people. The places that I've met people the most have been gyms, my own workplace and the gym are the two places that I've ever met someone.
Can't say the same.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a really important article. I think that being kind to people, is something that goes a long way. You may not agree with a person's sexual preference. You may not agree with a person's gender identity. But we can agree to be compassionate, respectful, and nice. You may not understand and you may not want to do it yourself. You may not want your children to, be trans or gay, but you don't get to pick what your child is going to be when they grow up and how they're going to behave in life. It's up to you as a human being to be the kindest and best human being ever.
So Marlo asked the question, are either of you familiar with Jessica Yaniv and what is going on in Canada?
We've heard of some of the stuff. I think we read an article a long time ago. They were suing people because they were not waxing their privates, and then they've been all over the news. I haven't really kept up a lot with it.
I know Blair White has, but
Blair White made a video today, which I haven't watched yet, but I saw it on my news feed.
And then she writes, I'm asking you to this to find out if people are familiar with what is going on with Canada's Human Rights Court. And I think it's, that whole, like, if you don't acknowledge someone, you could go to jail thing.
Yeah, that's. I mean, to me, jail time for not acknowledging someone's a bit harsh. I mean, that's, like I said, coexisting, being kind to one another. We need to learn to communicate with one another without sending people to jail or suing them. I think that we're no longer in the playground and we're not terrible twos anymore. We're adults and we should be able to handle things as adults. When I transitioned back in 2003, we weren't that way. We were kind. We wanted to educate people, but we weren't pushing the stuff down people's throat. I kind of had a problem when I started seeing the new evolution of trans individuals coming in, forcing themselves into people's minds or whatever, and the way they were doing things. I don't agree with that, personally. I think there's better ways of handling situations.
Marla said, or you get sued. Now New York City has a law that can fine you $125,000 for misgendering people if you are in certain positions.
And see, I think that causes a lot of friction,
animosity
and friction, and that there's no need for that. No one really wins.
No,
when that stuff like that
it just angers
people, and then
the general public. The other 97% of people, in the United States.
There's better ways of doing it. There's better ways of communicating. You don't force someone to accept you. You don't force someone to love you. You don't force someone to do anything. If people don't want to give you your pronouns, if people don't want to be kind enough to be considerate, then it's on them. No one should be suing anybody or wanting anyone to go to jail. I mean, I think people that do that have other issues than gender dysphoria. I think we're dealing with a group of individuals who have deeper problems, and those problems need to be addressed, because not everyone in the trans community wants people to be jailed or sued because you're not gendered or because you get misgendered.
Marla says, like I said, I have multiple questions, so please consider having a private Zoom chat with me over the Christmas break.
Sounds good. If you could email us at that email right there that Lynna just wrote down, transitionradioshow@gmail.com. We'd love to. We're always here, to try to help, and that's why we have the chats open. And, you could also call in. Let's see, we've got and we'd be more than happy to take your call right now. Online, live on the show if you like. Let me open up the Google Voice.
Yeah, we love to converse with our audience and people that would be interested in having honest questions answered, and dialogue is a wonderful thing, and really trying to understand each other and trying to explain, and
that's important.
It's a good thing.
It's important because education is key. Listen, I transitioned in 2003. I've detransitioned several times. It's a very confusing topic. It's confusing for those of us who identify as trans. We go through a lot. There's things that we think we have resolved through the years, and then it just comes right back up and it gets us to questions. I think it's important for people to be able to feel free enough to question these things, not to feel shame, not to feel that there's something wrong with them. And if anyone's learned anything from watching my videos and my whole evolution and devolution and all the things that I've gone through, is that it's important to be you, and that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to speak up, and it's okay to just break everything apart to put it back together again until you understand you. Okay, so let's see here.
Call from Marlo Graves. To accept, press 1. To send.
Hello, Marla.
Hi, how are you? Actually, it's Marlo.
Marlo.
Hi, Marlo.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm going to try to avoid a feedback here. So, first of all, I want you to know that I totally understand why some people would choose they, them, their pronouns.
Okay.
Oh,
And
sure.
let me just mute this computer. Okay, I totally understand why people would use they them pronouns, especially if they've transitioned. Like I understand when intersex people are born, to be born with a combination of different sex characteristics internally and externally. In some ways, when transgender people transition, they have a combination of internal sex characteristics that may differ from the external sex characteristics or even have an appearance that's non-binary. Different people can transition for different reasons, or even if they're not having anything to do with the transgender community, if they've, let's say been abused or had so much of a split personality, to sort of deny, both parts of them, or, to have lived as male and then to live as a woman, you've got, maybe two different personalities. So I totally understand why someone would use the word they. And I'm not exaggerating, talking about safety. If let's say you've got two people going to a factory, one person's in the flight deck of an airplane and the other is behind some working engine and they're about to blow it out, and somebody says they are in the flight deck, when you've neglected the fact, you just don't want to add to miscommunication.
Right.
There was a time in NASA where not a shuttle crash, but a rover crashed because someone was using metric and someone was using English. And so you just don't want to add to miscommunication. But another reason too, and I know like trans people have been on the outskirts or are the minority sometimes, but I would hope trans people would consider that other minority groups, you want to be specific, using grammatically correct English, because what might be, some people would consider it woke if someone else did it, someone in the majority did it. Like if a minority person did it, they would say, oh, you don't speak grammatically correct English, just giving someone another excuse to sort of disrespect you, or as a way to be easily scapegoated. Let's say there is a little confusion in the factory. It would be very easy to say, okay, well, that person didn't use, they miscommunicated, had incorrect grammar. And so I've come into contact or read things where intersex people or transgender people are very, very angry. They'll say, oh, I don't care about your pronouns, or I don't care about your grammar. And it's to say, well, let me explain to you, this could be eating into my income or my chance for opportunity, especially if I want to do professional stuff like academic stuff. So I think the understanding should go both ways. If someone is so militant as to say, well, I don't care about you, your grammar, it's like, okay, well, you don't care about me. Why should I care about you? But of course, I'm a considerate person. That's why I've talked to people about this, because I trans people about this, because I know other people have the same issue. They just will talk about it behind the trans people's back rather than in front of them. So I hope you understand that the reason I'm talking to you about this is because I want to have a dialogue and an understanding. I'm not the kind of person that's hateful or just would backstab, because I'm saying what a lot of people think. I'm just, trying to say it so that, hey, we can, we've all got to live on this planet together. So let's figure out how we can live well. And I understand being considerate. I'm totally considerate. But like the other person said, it's a slippery slope, being mandated to say something with the unique case and the other New York City law.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And we totally get where you're coming from. There are genuinely good questions, and questions that can present a lot of problems, like you said, in a situation where let's say there's a fire, and someone's in the house, and you tell them they are in the room. They're thinking there's a group of people, but there's actually a person who's gender not conforming. This is totally legit what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And I think that these conversations need to be had so that somehow, some way, they could come to a conclusion of sorts, or a better way to deal with things. This is all very new. Literally, I mean, this is like not even 50 years old, this whole trans identifying, gender non-conforming pronouns and things, that instead of people getting angry at one another, and that includes the trans person getting upset at cis people, we need to communicate, and we need to come to a ground of agreement of sorts, so that everybody wins.
And I can't speak for everyone myself as a trans person, but I know in my own personal life experience.
I think we lost her.
It's okay.
Okay.
In my own personal life experience, I never demanded anyone to use my pronouns. I mean, my whole concept of my identity was not based on what they thought of me. It was based on myself and what I thought of me. So for me to be adamant about demanding and suing and all that, that's just not how, you know, how I'm made up. You know, I don't like to cause, you know, problems. I don't like to raise flags. I just like want to go with the flow and stuff. And I think that for me, it would have been more beneficial to give them the ability to just call me by my name.
Right. And that's a good solution right there. Instead of using pronouns them, they, zen, zoom, whatever, all the different variations of it, the name should be something that's crucial, especially in a situation like that, Marlo. And I hope that answers your question. I don't know if what happened, why we lost you, but yeah, I think that when someone presents as you are respectfully and you have legitimate questions, I think the trans community should be open enough and receptive enough to be able to have these open discussions.
And not to demonize a person for asking honest questions.
Exactly.
And honestly wanting to come to a resolution of the problem, because there is a problem when you say they're in the cockpit and there's only one person.
Right.
You know, it's like
very confusing.
That's dangerous. And if it causes anyone to you know, loss of life potential, you know, risk, you know, I really think it's important to, you know, to acknowledge these things and to look past your own personal preference in the interest of safety for everybody.
Well, that's, you know, one of the things that I think it's important that everyone communicates, everyone thinks of each other, not just self. Because I think when there's tempers flaring and people only care about their own feelings, then you have problems. And I think it's important as adults for us to be able to communicate our needs, you know, be able to communicate our needs and be able to listen to the needs of others, because that's pretty much what's so important.
And Terry says there are some people who are known as grammar Nazis, the ones who correct your misuse of they are, there, and there.
Yes.
You know, I mean, and in this day and age, when we are texting like crazy and grammar is really an afterthought, I think it's ironic that people would be correcting people's grammar when, you know, most people aren't even taught to write cursive anymore.
Right.
You know.
And Trans Bro podcast joins us, and I was interviewed by him, what was it, a couple days ago, and he's going to be on our show next week. And he has a very interesting comment there. He writes, even if we force someone to use the right pronouns, if they don't see us how we want them to, it is what it is. Really interesting point made about they, them pronouns. Definitely. Yeah, it's like, you know, forcing people,
demanding,
and then behind our back,
charging.
They're going to be laughing at us. And we need to try to make friends, not enemies. And we need to learn how to coexist. You know, and I've done a lot of things. I've messed up a lot in my lifetime, and it's taught me, you know, I don't always have to be right. I just, you know, I want to be able to coexist with people. You know, we all have the right to present and be as we are. We all have the right to detransition for those that found that transitioning wasn't for them. And we as a community, as a human species, never mind community, we are all humans. And that's what we fail to understand. You know, we all bleed the same. We all go under the ground the same when we get killed, when we die. You know, we need to be a little bit more compassionate and see one another, literally see one another, instead of just screaming and talking over one another or not understanding one another.
So
Brianna says,
Transbro podcast in the house. I enjoy your interview with Mark. You are very passable as a guy too.
Yes, he's Cuban, or his parents are Cuban. You're Cuban, man.
You're Cuban. You're as Cuban as
yeah. I mean, I was born there, but even though you weren't born there, you're still Cuban. So
Todavía es raza.
Yeah, that's right. And Marlo says, I'm actually in favor of creating a gender-neutral pronoun, like you said. Language evolves. Definitely.
Yeah, languages do evolve.
Yeah.
You know, and there are people that would prefer to go by a gender-neutral pronoun.
Yeah.
And there are people that wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, as long as that gender-neutral pronoun isn't being shoved onto every trans person.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And Marla says,
I think people need to put in the work by writing articles and books to help create a widely accepted and used gender neutral pronoun. Here in the state of Oregon, they have an X that people put on their driver's license and stuff.
Yeah.
And for some people that works really well.
Yeah. And
for others
people,
it doesn't.
And I kind of, when I was getting away from my detransition, and I was kind of playing, well, do I want to be gender neutral? And it didn't work. And this is what works for me. This is what feels right for me. But everyone's entitled to their journey. That's what's the beautiful thing. And Trans Bro podcast says, I don't think police officers are going to open up an LGBT pronoun book prior to responding to a 911 call that requires them to react quickly. That's true. And these are things that we've got to think about. But a lot of these new trends, if we want to call it that, and I don't want to be disrespectful, is created by the youth. A lot of youth, and they really don't think in long term, and they don't think of emergency situations and things of that nature. And again, not putting anyone down. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, to their views, to how they wish to be addressed. But we've got to look at the bigger picture. We really do. Let's see here.
That's a point I wanted to bring up too. The New York City law requires law enforcement to use a person's preferred pronoun.
Yeah, trans advocates have been very busy trying to create all these stuff. And, I think it's great, but it could be a double-edged sword. And these are the things, these are the grounds that we have to know what shaky grounds are we walking on. We have to think everyone, not just a small group of people, and we've got to try to find a way to make it a win-win for everyone, get everyone involved. And Raul Ward joins us.
I need this topic right now.
Okay.
I'm 10 years at my job, done the name change, but will be starting hormones to be male identified, and it's weird for me. Don't know how they'll take it. Any advice?
I think being patient with people is the key. Don't get frustrated with them. Don't get angry with them. Realizing that as new as it is to you, it's probably as new to them. Communication is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing when you speak to people. And this goes for relationships, friendships, co-workers. Being truthful. Speak from your heart. Let people know how you feel. And also listen to them, how they feel. If they feel uncomfortable, work with them. You want them to work with you. It's learning how to, it's like a dance. If everybody wants to be the dominating dancer, you're going to step on each other's toes and it's going to be a disaster. We've got to learn how to give and take. It's a beautiful dance of life that we have to learn to do with one another. Communication is the key.
So we have Stay Frosty saying, asking if the dude on the left has a penis or female parts.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I kind of hit it.
Stay Frosty, if you understand that this is transgender dynamics in the workplace, and you obviously have some predisposed, way of thinking, why do you come in here to try to be a total what? It's like, we're not here to entertain you and your terrible twos. If you're here and you're going to be an adult and have adult-like questions, you're welcome to be here. But if you're going to act like a 2-year-old that doesn't know how to play with others in the sandbox and think that you're funny, you're not. You're actually an asinine. Okay? So,
honestly though, it's
people
hard,
like that get blocked.
It's hard to really address a question like that because those issues are things that you probably don't even understand, nor are you willing to entertain. And people like you are probably just trolls that came around,
Of course.
saw a topic, and it said transgender.
And then not only making fun of my lazy eye, and it's like, is your wee wee that small that you have to like bully
just
others?
losers.
Yeah, losers. But it's okay. They're gone now. So Brianna says,
If I say there is a danger to a firefighter, would you think multiple people were in a room? I think there could be used as a single person too. I think if there's any hint of any kind of danger being presented to professionals, rescue people in a situation in the military, I mean, wartime, you got to kind of side with the people that, with safety
yeah,
at that point.
that's true. You really have to, because if not, it's just, I don't know. There's ways of trying to resolve issues where it could be a win-win, but always erring in the side of caution, because that's, really important. So let's see here. What else do we got? Well, this was a topic that we were going to talk about. This is something that happens a lot, and again, religiosity is usually a problem. Let me see here. I think I have to.
Yeah, it's a problem. Usually, religious people make it a bigger problem than it should be.
Yeah. And, I think if you are religious and you are working, whether it's hospital, whether you're a teacher, you got to keep your religiosity, your belief system away from your work, because it's not fair to others that don't believe the way that you do. You're entitled to your belief. You have freedom of religion, but that freedom of religion doesn't mean you have a right to impose your religion on others. So this is a very interesting article. A Utah substitute told fifth graders that homosexuality is wrong. She was escorted out after 3 students spoke up. So there's an update. There's a new update. They actually fired the substitute teacher, according to Kelly Service, the staffing company that employed her. So when it was finally, let's see here. Let's call him again.
Call from Brave. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hello.
Hi, this is Marlo Graves. I saw we got cut off, but I'll definitely wait till you finish talking about health and nutrition. So I can definitely hold if you just wanted to. I didn't know where I had left off in the conversation.
Go right ahead. We were just getting ready to talk about a new article regarding a substitute teacher that was actually preaching about homosexuality being wrong. But go ahead. We could go ahead and put that on.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where I left off because I pulled out my headphones to not hear the back chat. But I was just saying, the concern with plural pronouns, and then I added something to the chat talking about I think there should be, people should be working on like a gender neutral pronoun. In Sweden they actually created one, but I think the work needs to be done. I'm afraid of things getting pushed into the dictionary for political reasons. Because some of the dictionaries that are online, they'll add words and they'll take away words. So I'm just, like I said, I'm trying to make it, work for everyone. Like I said, in New York, you can be fined for using wrong pronouns. And what about the police if they're forced to, identify someone that, obviously looks male, if they has a beard or whatever, but if they are identifying as female and they're the police are forced to describe people. And in Canada, now they're going to not describe people by gender. So I'm just afraid of things getting so rigid and so not understanding on one end that there'll be a backlash. So
yeah, and that's
really my opinion.
Massive concern, because I think originally when people started transitioning years ago, you got your surgeries or you did what you were able to do to present in the world and blend in. Yeah. All of a sudden, we've got this new wave of people that are transitioning, but they don't identify as male or female. They identify somewhere in the middle. And again, they're entitled to that. But when they want to change laws and when they want to change the world to fit them, I think that could be very problematic.
It really can.
You know,
It really can.
so it's hard because it's like I identify as a man, Lynn identifies as a woman. Everyone's entitled to identify as they wish if they're gender nonconforming, but I don't know what a world will look like with gender nonconforming. It can probably it could probably happen, but it might take a lot of work, you know.
And what I'm saying is, you present as male and female, like that would be accurate descriptions of you. But what's happening is that people who are saying, you know, that the gender they're deciding they want to be described as doesn't fit what they look like, and that's causing a lot of problems. And so I see we're on the same page, and I'm just trying to help trans people understand that, hey, you know, things are going to the extreme, and that's actually going to hurt people.
It is. I truly believe it is.
No, we completely agree. I mean, I think it's really gotten off the rails completely, and what's happened in Canada is really sad.
Yeah, there's no need for people to get penalized, jailed, fined for, you know, not accepting, sued.
Yeah.
You know, if you walk into the bathroom and you look like you belong in that bathroom, I don't think there should be any questions asked, any problem. I think where the problem lies, like you said, if someone dresses a certain way but does not look like they belong in that particular bathroom, then there's going to be complications, you know, and I don't know how we could handle that as a society. I don't know what there needs to, because safety is always important.
Right.
You know, that's something that's very important for the bigger population that's not trans.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about bathroom issues, because for me, it's like if I wanted to, I'm not a trans person, I can go home if I don't want to, you know, share a bathroom with a trans person, which I don't have a problem with. So with these bathroom laws, it could lead to non-transgender women being strip searched. So I'm like, okay, I used to, you know, now I'm like, okay, let's leave that alone. You got to worry about different, you know, trans men being, you know, just different prisons that people could go in because of their natal sex. But I see we're on the same page. And what I'm hoping is people like you will kind of talk to more of the transgender community and say, hey, you know, we are going, like for a transgender couple to say, hey, these are the things that are not realistic. Can you, you know, let's stop, let's be more reasonable. Let's look at the other 97%, like you said, of people that we're coexisting with. So that's my only point. I'm glad to see that you understand what I'm talking about, and I'm hoping that you will help other people understand that.
But I think what is the larger problem is that this trans issue is not the issue at hand. This has been a politicized thing. This is not about transgender anything. This is about control and the politicizing of it by making something seem like it's something else. But the real goal is to take away our rights as humans.
Right.
You know, in New York City, what's happening, it's not based on a gender issue. It's based on governmental control of an issue. And that's what taking it and politicizing it.
And that's what people don't see, that they take a minority and they take a situation. It's like causing the problem to then give you the solution, and the solution is always taking away more of our freedoms. And I think trans people need to understand this, that they're being used as a gateway, or not just transgender people, but gender not conforming people being used as a gateway to take more of our freedoms away. And people need to realize what's going on.
And that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
So I'm totally, I'm totally glad that you understand, and I totally appreciate that, because I know that there are some transgender people that are understanding of that. You know, how it's being used is like to beat us over the head, and then other people that don't. And so part of the community that does, and I'm really hoping that they will see that, because I feel like we're all going to be in trouble if we lose our ability for free speech.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, we're on the same page with you on that. Definitely.
Yeah. So I'm done preaching, but I so really appreciate you taking my call, because I've wanted to discuss these issues with people, and I know it could be, very hard and, very, taxing for some people and very sensitive. So I really appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you. Thank you. Marlo. Take care. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
So yeah, that's the number one thing right there. It's the freedom of speech. It's the laws that are being imposed. and it's all being used, and people aren't realizing it because they're letting their emotions run free, and it's usually individuals that first transition that are all rallying, and they're all upset about certain things, and it's like they really have to look at the bigger picture.
There was like a sense of comfort followed by a sense of fear once the attorney general, was it, or somebody said, transgender people, we see you.
Yeah,
it was like, oh wow, they're, during the Obama administration, we see you. It's like, oh great, but then it's like, oh wait.
Yeah. Well, back
They
in the
see
day,
us.
the IBM computer where they were like sensing, the getting the census and trying to know who's what. We don't want to be conspiracy nut here, but you got to kind of wonder what's going on. Anyway, when it was finally his turn to answer, the fifth grade boy knew exactly what he wanted to say.
It was the week before Thanksgiving, and the substitute teacher had asked the boys' class, what are you thankful for this year? Some of the kids had said turkey and mashed potatoes. One girl mentioned her dog. Another student joked about not having to go to school over the holiday.
The boy response was a bit more serious. I'm thankful that I'm finally going to be adopted by my two dads, he answered. Students later said that substitute snapped. Why on earth would you be happy about that?
For the next 10 minutes, she lectured the 30 kids in the class about her own views, how homosexuality is wrong and two men living together is a sin. She looked at the boy too and told him, that is nothing to be thankful for.
And see, that's why people with religious beliefs like that have no business being a teacher, a substitute teacher, working in hospitals. You're entitled to your religious beliefs, but you're not entitled to push your beliefs down people's throats. 3 girls asked her to stop multiple times, but she continued. So they walked out of the room to get the principal. As the substitute was escorted out of the building, she was still arguing, trying to make her point. The boys' fathers say they were told by school officials.
She also tried to blame our son, said one of the boys' dads, Louis Van Amstel, and told him that it was his fault that she went off.
The incident occurred last week at Deerfield Elementary School in Cedar Hills, which sits in the northern part of Utah County, very religious state. Van Amstel and his husband, Josh, said administrators called them immediately after it happened.
At first, their son, who's 11, didn't want to talk about it and didn't want to get the substitute teacher in trouble. The school pieced the story together from multiple student accounts, and the incident is now under investigation.
Alpine School District spokesman David Stevenson said he cannot speak about personal issues, but noted that the appropriate action has been taken. And as we saw the addendum or the update, they did fire the teacher. And, again, everyone's entitled to believe what they want. You want to believe in whatever it is, a unicorn, whatever it is you want to believe, that is on you. But when your belief impinges or infringes or hurts someone else, then that's got to stop.
When you're causing a child severe trauma, a little boy who just wants to be loved, who wants to be given a family, and if that family for that little boy is, are 2 men, and he is excited about it, and he is so grateful to have those 2 men in his life, then who in the world are they to say anything?
See, that's where...
Would they rather see him suffering in the orphanage?
Of course, because that's what a lot of people who have these very strict religious upbringing and belief systems, they fail to have a human connection. They're like robots. They read a book, they take what the book says literally, even though it's not, there's nothing literal about the Bible, but people believe it is. And then they want to create that strictness in their life and in the life of others. And that's where the line has to be drawn, because that's wrong. That's totally wrong. So yeah, wow. Almost 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, Marla, for calling in and for the super chat. Thank you, Brianna, for tuning in as you do every time we have a show, and for your support. And Roe Ward has said that they agree it's getting extreme, and it is. And this is where, I think this is something that, as human beings, we need to try to understand one another. We need to say it's not okay for people to get fined, because that's hurtful. Two wrongs don't make a right, and we need to stop trying to hurt one another. We need to learn to communicate, to coexist.
Absolutely. And we wanted to thank Mars over at Transgender Broadcast also for
yes
commenting, and we look forward to
having him on our show. Yes,
you on our show.
Yes, next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, yes. And we want to, bring in more transgender individuals to share your views. I think it's important for us to discuss things, because things have gotten out of hand. We've got to also be supportive of detransitioners. It's hard. It's hard sometimes to make choices in life that, after a set amount of years have gone by, it really doesn't work for you anymore. You kind of look, we're not linear. People think, and it's no, life does this, and sometimes it does this, and then it goes back up, and it goes back down. It's like a roller coaster ride.
And I also wanted to thank our, wonderful commenters, Stay Frosty and Freya0015 for, bringing their views to the table and letting us know just how destructive they like to be in their conversations.
Well, people like that, are hurting. Hurt people, and they're confused themselves. A lot of people may have sexual confusion, and they want to experiment, but they're fighting it, and so they have to come to shows like ours, or the word transgender appears or something like that. They want to go in and think they're being funny. And just a bunch of high school kids, or maybe grown men that are with the mentality of high school kids, and they like to get attention that way. But people like that have no room in our chat room, because we like to chat about things that are important, and
I get it. A lot of people don't understand it, don't want to understand it, don't have the capability or the capacity to understand it, and that's on you. And that's and honestly, I don't demand you to see me this or that or any other way. I really don't honestly care what you think about me. I live my life every day as comfortable and as peaceful as can be. I'm married. We're engaged again. We were married, and we have our life. It's beautiful. We have each other. It's beautiful. So whether you see me as this or that, or whether you see and you want to say comments and
they
stuff,
came on the live thing as a transgender, so automatically. It's like,
but the fact is that my life doesn't get affected by what you have to say.
Exactly. But no one knows. We walk in life all the time, go to the store. No one does ever second glance of any sorts. Again, there are people, when we're watching things, they say life, and they go in and they, and they figure they're just like the, people that have nothing else better to do. But that's why they get blocked,
But picking on someone's glasses,
how
mature do you have to be?
Or that my eye was.
Really, how immature does one have to be?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. But,
yes, Terry, trolls will be trolls.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't let my lazy eye bother me. It used to when I
was
don't
younger. Either. I have a lazy eye as well.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we'll be interviewing Mars from Bra podcast. And if any of you like to be on the show, interview, have some interesting story you want to share, we are willing to interview detransitioners. Let your voices be heard as well. People that are gender not conforming. What do you think about the they them? What would be a better way of handling that situation without putting anyone in jeopardy?
What do you think about, people getting fined for not using the right pronouns? What do you think
Right.
about people getting sued?
Exactly.
Those are pretty extreme things that, when you think about it,
Yeah.
that can take place. I would never demand that of anybody.
Of course not.
I mean,
When
it's-
you hurt someone's finances, that's pretty sad.
mhm.
That's pretty sad, and it's just
Take away their livelihood.
That's insecurity, and that's wrong on all levels, because not everyone is going to accept you and see you, and that's okay. You know what's important? For you to accept and see you as a person. As long as you see you and accept you and love yourself, everything else is like extra, and that's what we have to learn as individuals in this community. Bring yourselves up. Don't rely on other people to make you feel good.
No.
You got to do the work yourself, and that's very important. All right, good night, everyone. Thank you so much, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time, same station. Love you guys, but remember to always love yourselves too. Take care. Be well.